tail, I say the hard words over dessert. She touches the facet of her mouth with her serviette, stands up and walks out to the parking lot. I see her get right into a present-day purple convertible, bang her fist once in the steering wheel, and then drive off guffawing, if you can consider that phrases cannot even describe a sense for that commercial. It's in order that random eye, without a doubt, don't recognize what they're wondering. It is as though they didn't want humans to buy the Factor, 1994, the closing wire for the Capri. It'd see a refresh and, even as it does, appearance quite better, it become already too past due to keep this automobile, the recognition was already in the toilet. The following access goes to the 2 LSPI engine that changed into delivered in 1997 and was in the Escort Focus, and Tracer SPI stands for split port induction. This just approached the intake course to every consumption valve is split into primary and secondary passengers. The aim changed into to offer a effective, you can say however, additionally, a fuel green engine energy numbers had been up 20% from the 1.9L that changed into previously determined within the Escort in Tracer. So those vehicles made 110 horsepower and 125 PB toes of torque, right? Here's the issue. Those engines had been recognised to drop valves, and that can purpose some critical damage when the valve seat drops out of the cylinder head. It FEES into the cylinder and damages the cylinder wall, piston and cylinder head. This may manifest with certainly no warning. In any respect, it may additionally take place to an engine that has been well maintained its entire life. Common lifestyles for this engine is ready 100,000 mi, but failure can appear as early as 70,000 hours. Applause. Now there's not to mention that these engines can get upwards of $200,000 mi due to the fact they could, but now not regularly, as I stated earlier, the Escort Tracer and Cognizant's all percentage this engine, but for the Tracer, this became the simplest engine to be had. The Escort in Focus had the 2L Zetec version that become double overhead versus single, as in choice, allows briefly move over the Tracer. Due to the fact having this engine wasn't the most effective drawback, the 0.33 Gen Tracer became simplest round from 97 until 99, while the equivalent Escort turned into a round till 2002. When it comes to sales, the Tracer just could by no means maintain up with the Escort. And that's totally understandable, but the margins had been horrific. The Escort was nearly at 3,000 income for 97 and 98, and the Tracer couldn't hit 50,000. They just were not popular. Mainly the wagon model, those automobiles had been comparatively cheap for people. They had been reasonably priced, and gasoline green, that of itself may be very essential. So if you've ever owned, considered one of these, just recognize that I'm not judging you in any way. The Ford Festiva added lower, back in 1988, was a totally reputable automobile. It changed into built by KIA, but the layout and powertrain were from Mazda. Those suit the definition of an Iono field, with the guide transmission anticipate to get well over 40 mpg at the highway, and that is back within the past due 80s to early 90s. It's pretty brilliant. For my part, I would take one of these over the ones Pontiac L-Man matters any day of the week. Those have been tremendous, dependable, trusted or now not, and if something were to go incorrect, elements were notable cheap. To these days, the human beings that still own them will vouch for it. With every vehicle in the marketplace, sooner or later, income will drop. And so the Festivo turned into replaced, via our subsequent entry, the Ford Aspire, which became in production from 1994 until 1997. If you completely forgot, those existed nicely. I'm in the same boat as you, they have been very forgettable. I do not even keep in mind the last time I noticed one. It has been 5 to 10 years upon the Aspire's release. It completely ditched the frame styling of the beloved Festiva. It became longer, wider and rounder. It almost looked like it became modelled after the Winder, which changed into a minivan. These had been additionally based totally on a Mazda platform and produced by KIA beneath the hood, changed into a 1.3L 4-cylinder proper for 63 horsepower, made it into either the widespread 5-pace manual or non-obligatory 3-speed auto. Allow me be very clean. Once I say this, the 3-pace auto turned into first of all underwhelming and it became frightening. Sluggish 0 to 60 in 13.8 seconds, and it would take a further 6 more seconds to attain 70 overall performance. Is the final thing this card tried to be. That wasn't its reason in any respect. Except you purchased the SE package which came with a spoiler and fog lighting fixtures, the 5-speed guide become. Now, not most effective faster. However, additionally, the gas economic system changed into better, but, and this is one of the primary drawbacks, pretty frankly, the Achilles heel. For this automobile, the gasoline financial system turned into no longer brilliant superb. The Aspire became 500 lb heavier than the Festiva, and with that said, the EPA rated the automatic at 25 city and 31 highway. The Escort at the time had very similar scores, and you bought a whole lot extra vehicle. Those Aspires competed in particular with the GM Metro and Hyundai XL. In my view, I would take the Metro over the Aspire. The fuel economic system became better, and it also had a less expensive base MSRP at round 78 versus $8,500 lower back in '94. The Ford Aspire definitely did not aspire to be whatever first rate, and it is one of the maximum forgotten cars from the 90s. The Ford RR delivered in 1986 turned into a massive hit. Minivans were the new and station wagons were being phased out. It became the primary minivan to be powered exclusively through V6 engines and to have a non-compulsory all-wheel force device, while it is not unusual to discover a 4-wheel pressure vehicle. In an environment like this, you may be surprised to find an environment like this in a 4-wheel power automobile, Ford Aerostar 4-wheel drive, with fashionable rear anti-lock brakes and a powerful 4L V6 engine. It handles the avenue as without problems because it handles Mother Nature. From a 2024 perspective, they do appearance atypical. They kind of percentage that equal sloping front design as the Previa, which is another precise-looking van. GM had the Astro and Safari, even as Chrysler had the Caravan and Voyager, and even though Ford offered over 2 million units, Chrysler outperformed them. Changing the Aerostar turned into the all-new wind celebrity that shared its underpinnings with the Taurus. It adopted the front-wheel pressure configuration visible at the popular Chrysler vans. These came out in 1995 proper, before Chrysler released their third-gen minivans. GM nevertheless had their dustbuster vans till '97, so Ford turned into the primary, at the least in the domestic market, to have a relevant van for the public. With that stated, they sold properly. Now Chrysler launched their updated vans much less than a YR later, after the Wind, Famous Person. Those vehicles featured a driver sliding door, or, as a minimum, it became an option this would show to kick forward in the butt, because the Wind R did not have that. To be truthful, this wasn't a popular design previous, so the design crew failed to suppose to add it. However, whilst it comes to sales, this does not rely. What I'm announcing is that the timing became now not in Ford's favour, even though they have been the first of the three to have a brand new van. Chrysler kicked their butt, and GM would launch their new vehicles in '97 on pinnacle of this. These vans simply regarded a bit old each on the inner and out. These vans either had the 3L Vulcan V6 or the 3.8 S6 V6. Now the Vulcan is a first-rate motor and so turned into the S6. However, the Windstar used a solid iron block with aluminum heads. What this means is that it was prone to overheating and head gasket failure. The SX V6 turned into additionally in the Taurus and Sable, but the Windstar weighed an extra 700 lb. This wasn't all that proper for the engine, and the suspension also suffered because the tie rods and the front springs could not actually manage all the weight as properly, just like the Aspire. While became the final time you saw a primary technology, Windstar they may be nearly non-existent. However, I nonetheless see those caravans and ventures from time to time. I understand that 2 of the entries are Mazdas. However, when you appearance at Ford's lineup, there wasn't that lots to move by using the Tempo Contour, and Escort should have probably made this list the third technology. Show might be the worst of the bunch, but I suppose the listing I created is quite respectable. This is going to wrap it up for this week's video. I respect you all looking revel in the rest of your week, and I will see you all subsequent week. Music.